Hi, I'm Belle from the Sonoma Test Kitchen. I'm so excited because today I am making the never before published top secret Ruffoni family lasagna recipe. And I'm making it all in the Ruffoni Historia copper cookware collection. All of this is handcrafted by coppersmiths at the Ruffoni family run workshop in the Italian Alps. The hammering is not only beautiful, but it also increases the strength of the copper. The Ruffoni family have been making copper cookware in Italy since 1931. So they are total pros when it comes to cooking with copper. Let's get cooking. I'm gonna begin this recipe by browning off the meat for the ragu. This ragu, like all traditional Italian ragus, has to braise for 2 hours to really develop those flavors. So I wanna get it started early. Just let this heat up for a few moments until it's just about smoking. I want the meat to get nice and brown, so I want it to sizzle when it hits the pan. This collection is lined with tin, which is extremely traditional for copper. It's really heat conductive, so it heats up quickly and keeps that heat throughout cooking. It's naturally low stick, so you don't have to add too much fat to the pan. And because it's so heat conductive, you can even just have it over medium heat and it will really get a nice sear. It's very traditional in Italian ragu, also known as bolognese, to have two types of meat: ground beef and ground pork. Using both meats adds a lot of dynamic flavor and fat and really enriches the ragu. Now that my oil is nice and warm, I'm just going to add the pork. That nice sizzle, perfect. I'm just gonna break up the pork and kind of spread it around. I'm doing the meat separately because I don't want to overcrowd the pan. I really want nice browning. I don't want it to steam. Depending on the type of pork you have, there may be enough fat left in the pan. I'm gonna add a little bit more olive oil just to really get this beef going. And just brown this up the exact same way. Great, my beef is all nice and browned up as well, so I'm just gonna add it to the plate with the pork, keeping the pan over medium heat, but I'm gonna reduce it in just a moment. And next is sofrito, also known as a mirepoix, a combination of carrot, celery, and onion. The sofrito is the base of this sauce and many other Italian sauces and French sauces alike. I'm just gonna cook these over some medium-low heat until they're nice and tender and translucent. I don't wanna get too much browning on them, so it will only take a few minutes. Now that my sofrito is nice and translucent, I'm gonna add some tomato paste, just about 2 tablespoons. This is a really concentrated tomato flavor. I'm gonna add a little bundle of herbs. I have bay, rosemary, and some sage, and a clove of crushed garlic. I'm just gonna give this a good stir until that tomato paste is kind of covering all the veg in here. I'm just gonna give this a quick little seasoning. Next, I'm gonna add about a cup of red wine. Just gonna deglaze the pan just a bit. Perfect. And I'm gonna add the meat, all this nice brown meat, right back to the pot. Smells so delicious already. All those flavors from the herbs and the garlic and the wine, the tomato paste, it's only gonna get better. Just a few more things. I'm going to add 2 cans of these diced tomatoes. What's great about these copper pans is you don't have to worry about cooking with acidic foods like tomatoes. The tin really protects the pan. Lastly, I'm gonna add a Parmesan rind. This is gonna give it a really nice, deep Parmesan flavor without adding too much cheese. Now that my ragu is up to a simmer, I'm just gonna cover it and let it simmer for about 2 hours or so. The longer, the better, to really develop those flavors. In the meantime, I'm gonna make some bechamel to go between the layers of the lasagna. To make the bechamel, I'm just gonna add a little butter to my pan over medium heat. Bechamel is a traditional French mother sauce. It's a combination of butter and flour to make a roux, and then I'm gonna add some milk to thicken it up. Now that my butter is just beginning to foam, I'm gonna add equal parts flour. Just kind of whisk this together really quickly until a nice paste forms. I'm gonna cook the roux for just a minute or so to cook out that raw flour flavor. It also gets the butter nice and toasty. Now in my saucepan in front, I have some milk coming up to a light simmer. I'm gonna turn my roux down to a low heat. While whisking my roux constantly, I'm gonna slowly add some warmed milk. At first it's gonna seem a little clumpy, but those will come out as you continue to whisk in the milk. Now that my bechamel has come together nicely, I'm just gonna let it cook for about 5 minutes until it gets nice and thick. You can see because of the tin coating of these pans, which are pretty low stick, the bechamel isn't burning or sticking to the bottom of the pan, which is great. My bechamel looks beautiful, nice and smooth and creamy. I'm gonna turn off the heat, season it with a little kosher salt, a few grates of fresh nutmeg to add some nice subtle warmth. This is super traditional for a bechamel. You wouldn't think nutmeg in a cheese sauce, but you don't wanna skip out on this step. And speaking of cheese, I'm going to add half a cup of some grated Parmesan. And now for my favorite part to build the lasagna. This is where it gets really fun. I'm just gonna add a little softened butter to a paper towel and just give this baker a little bit of a nice grease in here. Then to the bottom, I'm just gonna add 1 or 2 ladles of bechamel. After my layer of bechamel, I'm gonna add some noodles. Now, the Ruffoni family uses fresh pasta to make their own lasagna noodles. I cheated a little bit today in using fresh store-bought noodles that I just gave a quick parboil. Next is the ragu. It have the Ragu that's been simmering away here for a while. I'm just gonna cover this entire surface with the Ragu. Perfect. A nice little sprinkle of some Parmesan cheese. This will create a nice little barrier between the next layer of bechamel. You wanna continue to build the lasagna until you have about 5 layers of this process. It's 5 layers of the Ragu, 5 layers of the bechamel, the Parmesan, and a few cubes of some unsalted butter. Now that my lasagna is assembled, I'm gonna put it in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes. If it looks like it's getting a little too browned on top, I'm gonna cover it with some foil. My lasagna is out of the oven. It smells divine. I'm just going to add a little freshly grated Parmesan. And there you have it, the top secret Ruffoni family lasagna recipe. I cannot wait to dig in. And these copper pots are so beautiful, they go right from oven to table. To learn more about the Ruffoni Historia collection and to get this recipe, head to williamsonoma.com. Buon appetito.